We're back. Okay, so yeah, feels good to be back. Feels good to be next to the microphone again. So I broke down UFC 236, and that podcast did not make it on the internet because I did not edit it in time. But now I know how to edit it, and yeah, we can just go straight into the card and break it down. So there's a lot to be said for this card. Okay, so if we start from top to bottom, because I have no producer, so I'm gonna do it all myself. Okay, so I started on the started on the main card. Now we'll start with Eric Anders versus what's it called? What's his name? Eric Anders versus Khalil Roundtree. Now for me, Khalil Roundtree really came into his own in that fight. I mean, firstly, he is absolutely massive. He is a massive human. And I was surprised how big he was compared to Eric Anders, because Eric Anders is no small guy, and that fight, no matter how good Khalil's no matter how good his striking was, I think it shows there's an issue with the scoring system, because one of the judges scored that a 10-9 round. In what world was any of those rounds a 10-9 round? Eric Anders, I think he got dropped 4 times in one round. Like, just brutal drop, and he was getting dropped with big. He was getting, I think, got dropped with a body shot. He got dropped with like a couple of hooks, a couple of straights. So it was a brutal fight, and Eric Anders should move back to middleweight, because I mean, that is just, talk about a fight of why we have weight classes. So yeah, that was extremely impressive. And then we move to the co-main event. Now, the co-main event was, for me, one of the greatest title fights I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, just, oh my gosh. You know what? This is proof. Fights like that is proof that UFC fighters don't get paid enough, because for what they do and what they go through and the entertainment that they put on for simpletons like me, I mean, it was just ugh. Like, if you haven't watched that fight, you just go back and watch it. I mean, so I thought Kelvin was going to win. In truth, I recorded a podcast on it, but I didn't edit it in time. So I thought Kelvin was going to win, but Kelvin won 2 of the 3 rounds. And coming into the 4th, I was like, come on, Kelvin, you got this. Now, who was I rooting for? I was kind of like, may the best man win, but, you know, it always feels good to be right. So I was somewhat rooting for Kelvin, but somewhat rooting for Israel. But Kelvin coming to the 4th round, he looked good. Cardio was good, landing big shots. He dropped Israel Adesanya. There's so much to be said. Okay, so round 1 starts, and they start trading. And I'm like, Kelvin, what are you doing? I'm like, Kelvin, what are you doing? You're trading with maybe the best striker in the UFC right now. Like, the guy's striking is elite. Like, one of the best strikers in the UFC. And you're going shot for shot with him. And Kelvin proved that he can strike with any man on the planet not called Joe Schilling. Like, his striking was crisp, landing great shots. I mean, his boxing, I think Kelvin has some of the best boxing in the UFC. Max Holloway as well, but even though they both lost. But landing beautiful shot. And I was like, Kelvin, you're really pouring it on this round. And then 2nd round, I think he lost. And then 3rd round, I think he lost. And 4th, he just came back into his own, landing great shots, really snapping Israel's head back and keeping Israel honest. I mean, to be honest with you, I thought that Kelvin was going to win, but I thought that Kelvin was going to win by just Kamaru Usman and embrace the grind kind of fight, where it's just slow pace and he's just on the fence, and Israel's like shooting for underhooks and he's not getting anything, and it's just boring for everybody. We didn't get that. And then in the very, very last round, that is one of the best rounds for MMA you probably could ever see, okay? So Israel Adesanya knows. He knows. In fact, I don't want to say he knows, because in the press conference he said he didn't know. But he does know that this is the last round, and he does know that he needs to make this count. And he comes out and he just says, you know what? Time to become a world champion. Time to really piece this together. And he starts landing beautiful shots. Really, really putting Kelvin in trouble. Kelvin shoots for a takedown. A panic takedown. Adesanya relaxes, puts him in a triangle, goes for a submission. He cinched up the triangle. That's what was impressive about that submission, okay? Normally when people go for triangles, what happens is that they go for a triangle, they lose the triangle, and they end up on bottom and they get smashed for 30 seconds. No, he cinched that up right quick. Like, I was like, whoop. Kelvin was all in that mix. I was like, okay. I legitimately thought with another 30, 40 seconds, he could have made something happen because it was tight. Kelvin, obviously, with serious grappling skills. 10th planet. Is that how it's done? Haven't been 10th planet in a while. Yeah, I mean, serious grappling skills. He just, he poshed up, got out of it. And then towards the last 20 seconds, you could have easily stopped that fight. Kelvin's out on his feet, got dropped on Queer Street, just trying to hold it together. And that just shows, like, I love how Israel said he's Mexicano, so he's hard to put away. But it just shows, like, the heart that Kelvin has to get dropped. I think he got dropped twice, but to get dropped, to get rocked like 3 or 4 times and just go, you know what? You got to put me out of there. Just heart of a lion. And you know what? They both got 50k extra. I think they should get 200k extra, 400k, 500k. They should get paid in the millions for that, because the brain damage that they took in that fight, Lord have mercy. I mean, the head kicks, the body kicks, the wrestling, the grappling, just everything was just 25 minutes of go, 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 go. I think the best way to explain it would be like putting your car in 5th gear and just revving it as fast as it can go for like 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes straight. Your car will be screaming. The engine will be screaming at you. I mean, just zooming down the motorway as hard as you physically can, pushing your body as hard as you can. That is what they were doing. And it was just, oh man, it was so entertaining. And going to the 4th, nobody had any idea who was going to win that. I'm sure some people had Kelvin up 3 rounds. I'm sure some people had Israel up 3 rounds. I don't even know what the judges. I don't even know what the judges were probably thinking. I have no idea who's going to win this fight. But I mean, to come in and just show what you're worth and just show championship mentality and really, really piece it together when it's needed most. I mean, for Israel, he could have easily wilted, and he even said in the post-fight press conference, he said, "I understand now why men break," and then he put in, "I've done it to many men," which I thought was hilarious. He said, "I've done it to many people," and I mean, I feel like 95% of fighters, not even people, fighters would have just said nah, because he was eating some big shots. Big shots in the 4th. And the fact that he was able to compose himself. What I like about Israel Adesanya is I like how composed of an individual he is. Even if he's rocked, even if he's KO'd, even if something goes wrong, very much like Max Holloway, he's still just a guy who's like, you know what? I got this. Like, in defeat, or whether it's in defeat or whether he loses, and you'll probably say, oh, he's never lost in MMA. Yes, but he's lost in kickboxing. He got brutally KO'd, and he dealt with that loss like a champ. So, I mean, I can't lie. Like, he does some outlandish stuff, and I might not agree with everything he says, but his whole mentality, I really, really support it. I just love how after he won, he was like, this is dedicated to my coach, and he got on his knees and showed his respect to his coach. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's beautiful, and he really, really gave his respect to Kelvin, and that's beautiful. That's like, I don't mind a bit of like shit talking, but I also like the respect at the end of the game. End of the day, I like it when 2 competitors say, hey, you're a hell of a competitor, and it was good to share the octagon or the arena or whatever with you. I like that. I like that sportsmanship. So to see him do that was dope. And I was thinking when he won the title, Israel Adesanya might have had the fastest rise to a belt ever. Now I'd like to see statistics, because maybe Brock Lesnar might have done it faster, but he went from being in the UFC to winning a title the fastest I've ever seen in the modern era. He joined the UFC in February 2018. He was a champion by April 13th, 2019. That must be a record. There must be a record in there somewhere, because I've never seen anyone do that. No way in the middleweight division. No way. And we look at the middleweight champions of the modern era, like Rich Franklin, Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, Michael Bisping, GSP, Jesus, and Robert Whittaker, and then Israel Adesanya, interim. There's no way from the modern era anyone's done that faster. And even if I think back, who was middleweight champion before that? Maybe Evan Tanner? Even him. No way. That is definitely a wreck in the middleweight division. And I don't think there's any champion you can give me that's had a faster ascension than Israel Adesanya. And it just shows what a talent he is. Like, very, very marketable, good looking dude. I started Dana White. But there's just a lot to be happy about with him. And I cannot wait for him versus Robert Whittaker. Can you imagine the violence? Just the sheer brutality. The sheer brutality of him versus Robert Whittaker in New Zealand or Australia. Boy, oh boy. And I mean, Israel's from New Zealand and Nigeria, and Robert Whittaker's from New Zealand and Australia. Like, just, the violence is going to be so good. That might be the best fight. That might be like the best middleweight fight ever. I mean, we know Robert Whittaker's crazy. We know he's crazy. He's from another planet. And Israel Adesanya is crazy. We just saw what he did in the last fight. So you're gonna bring both of those guys together in their home continent of Australasia, whether it's New Zealand, which is home for both of them, or Australia, which is home for Robert Whittaker. Come on, like, that fight is gonna be crazy. That's one of those fights where you wish you could watch it live because it's gonna be so nuts. I cannot wait for that. Honestly, they're going to have to, after that fight, both of them are going to be on life support. I hope they have the ambulance on standby. The paramedics better be ready at any given moment to go in there, because I don't think anyone's going to get knocked out. I think they're going to beat the living snot out of each other for 25 minutes, and it's going to be even better than the fight we just watched. You know what? I could watch Robert Whittaker, Kelvin, and Israel fight every weekend. I'll tune in every weekend. Those guys, Robert Whittaker is my favorite. Kelvin is a game competitor. Israel's a game competitor. Their styles are so exciting. Just middleweight right now. Like, let's just take a look at what's going on at middleweight. Okay, as Brendan Sharp says, there's never been a better time to be a fan of the UFC and at the lightweight division. There's never been a better time to be a fan of the UFC in the middleweight division. The middleweight division right now, if I pull it up, because I have no producer, because the UK, no one in the UK watches MMA that isn't called me or Josh HP. So, yeah, please pardon the pun. Okay, so we look at the middleweight rankings, okay? Middleweight rankings. Geez, my phone is... There we go. Okay, so, Robert Whittaker, the man of violence, okay? Champion. Israel Adesanya, interim champion. The most exciting style ever. Yoel Romero, who is the best wrestler we've ever seen in the UFC, arguably. One of the craziest styles we've ever seen in the UFC, and the best physical specimen we've ever seen in the UFC, okay? And he's ranked number 2. Luke Rockhold left. Jacare Souza, who has some of the best grappling and had a barn burner fight with Chris Weidman, the last fight he had, going absolutely crazy. Then we got Kelvin Gastelum, who I don't know why he's below Jacare Souza, like he didn't beat him in his fight prior to this, but whatever, who's also got an amazing style, crazy. Then we've got Chris Weidman, who has actually quite an exciting style. His stand-up's getting better. He incorporates good grappling, so he's got a fun style. Paulo Costa, what do they call him? Bochachina, is that his name? Bochachina, the man who's taking all the steroids. So then we got Bochachina as well, who's a monster. Then we got Derek Brunson, Jared Connolly. Then we got Jack Hermanson, who's coming up the ranks. He just submitted, what's his name? He just submitted, I can't remember his name. He came from World Series of Fighting. That's really sad. I should be able to remember this. This is the thing about being under pressure. If I was in the kitchen and I had to remember this, I would be able to get it so easy. Jack Hermanson. Who did he just submit? David Branch. So he just submitted David Branch. Now he's fighting Jacare. And then now Jacare might fight for the title. Middleweight is just crazy. Middleweight is just crazy. And I think that if Robert Whittaker can get through 5 of those guys, oh Lord, he's putting himself in that second greatest middleweight under Silva, like greatest middleweight conversation. Like, I cannot wait for middleweight, and I hope that the fights are crazy, and I hope that the wheels keep turning. You know, I'm not usually a fan of interim champs, but you know what? In these 2 circumstances, I was a fan of it because Robert Whittaker was injured, don't strip the man, and Khabib was suspended. You need interim belts. The wheels must keep going. The show must go on. So, yeah, all in all, great fight. Shout out to Israel. Shout out to Kelvin. Just middleweight division. Thank you. Thank you, 185ers. So then we move to the main event, okay? Now, watching the main event for me was a bit painful because I am a humongous Max Holloway fan. He's in my top right now. He's in like my top 5, top 3 favorite fighters. I mean, you put him in there: Dominic Cruz, Max Holloway. Fine enough, Luke Rockhold's in like my top 5. I love watching Luke Rockhold fight. I know he has like an odd personality, but he seems like a good dude. But yeah, whatever. So then, I mean, we go through this fight, okay? I found this out like today when I was watching the best YouTuber of all time, Mixed Molly Whopper, watching his video about TJ Dillashaw. It literally dropped today, and he was saying smaller champions are 4-5 against the bigger men, apart from Max Holloway. So I mean, if you look at it, let's break it down. So you've got Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw, which I'm going to get into. We know who won that. We've got Amanda Nunes versus Cyborg. We know who won that. We've got Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. What else? There was another one, but I can't remember it for the life of me. But yeah, the point is that a lot of the smaller fighters have been really coming in and doing work, and this was the exception where you were like, you know what? Maybe featherweight is your weight class. I don't mean it in a way that like he isn't competitive, because in the third round, Dustin said it himself. He almost stopped the guy, but it's just that. And my good friend Nash, who I need to respond to his message, he said it best. His style didn't translate to 155 pounds. I don't want to say at all, but nowhere near as successfully. At 145, he can just put a pace on, kind of like Nick Diaz. He can put a pace on and increase the output, but when he lands, you can see that there's like noticeable damage. But with Dustin Poirier was just pretty much eating the shots. There were shots that Max Holloway was landing, and I was like, ooh, and then Dustin was like eating it, throwing shots back, you know. And I think the size difference really showed. I remember in round 1, fight comes on 6 in the morning in the UK, 6 in the bloody morning. Fight comes on. Max Holloway gets in there. He's taller than Dustin, but I'm like, Max is tiny compared to Dustin, like just very sunken in frame, you know? So for me, I was like, okay, well, this is some trouble for Max, because the grappling might be a bit harder for Max, because, you know, that size advantage, like just digging and underhooking and then just taking someone for a ride. And Dustin has that lift, you know, we've seen him do it to Max before. So I was thinking, okay, this might be some trouble. And then in the first round, when Dustin landed, it counted. You could tell it was kind of like Dustin was kind of like the older brother of the whole fight. Just the older brother, just when he landed it, just the shots counted. When Max landed, it was more like, okay, good shot, but the difference in damage was so apparent. Excuse me. So apparent, and it made me just think, hey, maybe this just is your weight class, and there's no shame in that. Do I think that Max could come back in and win a 155-pound belt? Of course he could. Oh yeah, the smaller man was Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, because he was a 145er. Do I think that he could come in and win the 155-pound belt just like Conor McGregor did? Yeah, of course I can. Of course I can. Of course he can. I gotta do that. Of course he can. I think that he has that ability, but I think that it might take readdressing a couple of things, you know, maybe putting on some muscle mass. I don't know, like just making it so that when he does move up, his style is better to able to adjust the difference in weight. Because I mean, if you do, the thing is, I actually think that kind of style would have more success against Khabib, like just making him work. But again, it's about the takedown. But I don't know, Dustin just had the perfect game plan, and Dustin just executed it very well. And he's also tough. He's also tough as nails. I mean, in the third round, he was on a queer street, and he said it himself. Max was landing big shots. And I'm definitely a Dustin Poirier fan. But I mean, I was rooting for Max Holloway. No shame in that, no secret. And I was like, Max, land it, finish the fight. And he just did not have that power to be able to finish the fight, which is kind of crazy to me, because even though he's not like he's not a Conor McGregor where he hits you and you're like, where am I? But it's more that he when he does start to accumulate a lot of damage, he can make it difficult for his opponent. But props to Dustin Poirier, man. I mean, props to him. He's done really, really well for himself. And it's good to see this like a good, hard-working, I don't deserve anything kind of man just make it. So shout out to him and his beautiful wife, who everyone searched on Google shortly after. Disgusting. But yeah, just good for him, man. It was great to watch, amazing to watch, and I wish the guy well. So moving forward for the lightweight division, okay, him and Khabib need to fight. They absolutely, positively need to fight, okay. But the question is that where does that leave the rest of the division? So, I mean, banter. Do you want to say funny? So I'm on the UFC website, and as you can see, I'm looking at the rankings, yeah, even though rankings mean nothing, and at bantamweight, nothing. There's nothing at bantamweight. Look. Oh man, that's an embarrassment. TJ. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. So then what was I saying? So at lightweight, where are we? Okay, so if we look at the lightweight division, okay. Lightweight. Okay, so we got Khabib, okay, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor, Al Iaquinta, Justin Gaethje, Kevin Lee, Edson Barboza, Donald Cerrone. Okay, now the thing about lightweight is that the UFC give titles not only to who's deserving, but also who brings eyeballs, okay? Now, if Donald Cerrone beats Al Iaquinta and then starts screaming about Budweiser or Bud Light or whatever, he could be warranted a title shot. If Tony Ferguson gets on Twitter and screams enough, he could be warranted the title. I'm saying after Khabib beats Dustin Poirier. We assume. Conor McGregor could come back and scream to the heavens. He could get a title shot. Justin Gaethje can start screaming to the heavens. He could get a title shot. I mean, there's the amount of people that could get a title shot. I mean, Anthony Pettis just knocked out Wonderboy. He could be one fight away from fighting Justin Gaethje or Al Iaquinta or Donald Cerrone again, title shot. So basically, what is so funny is that basically everyone in the top 10 that isn't Paul Felder is 1 or 2 fights away from a title shot. That's why you just gotta love this division. I mean, look at this. Donald Cerrone could get a title shot after Al Iaquinta. Edson Barboza could beat maybe Conor McGregor, title shot. Justin Gaethje could warrant a title shot after this. I don't know. Al Iaquinta could beat Conor McGregor, Donald Cerrone, title shot. Conor McGregor could scream at the heavens, title shot. Tony Ferguson scream at the heavens, title shot. Dustin Poirier, title shot. It's getting a title shot. So like, even though it's a champion, but it's interim. So the point is that anyone could be warranted a title shot, and it's just about the roll of the dice and whether Conor McGregor screams out enough. So for me, who do I think is going to be champion there at the end of the year? I have no idea. It might be Khabib, might be Conor, might be Dustin, might be Max, might be Anthony flipping Pettis. We don't know. Late replacements, a lot can happen. Weight cuts, all kinds of craziness. So for me, this division is up in the air. Dustin Poirier has the next shot. But who knows, like a lot happens in MMA. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib has been booked 4 or 5 times. More times than I could ever imagine, And it broke my heart on UFC 223 when that fight didn't come to fruition. But the point is that crazier things have happened in this sport. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be utter madness utter carnage when this fight actually, when everything unfolds. One thing I wanted to touch on before I hit on TJ versus the TJ versus EPO. I'm about to say TJ versus EPO. So John Jones and Israel Adesanya are attacking each other on the social media. Okay, so this fight is kind of odd, okay? Because firstly, Israel Adesanya has to get through Robert Whittaker, okay? And we know how violent Robert Whittaker is. So this whole like John Jones versus Israel debacle is kind of odd. And John Jones is a massive light heavyweight. I have no idea how he makes that weight. And Israel is a very tall middleweight, but he doesn't come in very heavy compared to a Yoel Romero or a Paulo Costa Borrachina or a Jacare Souza. Like, he's not, or a Chris Weidman. He's not one of those guys who's like ginormous. Like Luke Rockhold is ginormous. Yoel Romero is ginormous. Jacare Souza is ginormous. Like, Israel isn't like the biggest guy, even though he's an interim champion. So this whole like, oh, him versus John Jones thing, it's kind of confusing to me because John Jones is so much bigger than him. And for me, like, I don't understand why John Jones is looking to fight a middleweight when John Jones should look to fight heavyweights like Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier and Alistair Overeem, who I love. And there's a lot of matchups for him, and truth be told, probably beat everybody, including DC. I mean, I'm sure he'd be the favorite in that fight. So yeah, that fight, until it's booked, I don't really want to entertain it because like, I don't know, Israel's smaller, John's the greatest of all time. Israel hasn't even unified his belt yet. Like, there's just a lot going on. But I think both men are going to do absolute work in their respective divisions. Now, even if Israel Adesanya loses to Robert Whittaker in their first fight, I still think he has a bright future, the brightest of futures. Whether that's going up to like heavyweight as his body progresses, because as you get older, you still like you don't grow in height, but your body still develops as his body develops, and I'm sure he'll become more and more dense. So the point is that there's a lot to be said for Israel Adesanya's skills and his future. And on the other hand, John Jones, Mr. Picogram, he goes to heavyweight and just kill everybody. Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier, Alistair Overeem, Oleinik, which I'm going to get to. There's a lot of fights for him that he would probably just run through. So yeah, it's I think both of me to focus on just racking up the W's, especially John Jones, because he got Thiago Santos, the ex-murderer. But okay. So then, lastly, what was I going to say? EPO TJ Dillashaw. Okay, so what is there to be said regarding TJ Dillashaw's EPO ban, 2-year ban? Okay, so my favorite fighter of all time is Dominic Cruz. Okay, love his mentality, love his fighting style, just love the guy. When he lost to Cody Garbrandt, I cried. I might post a photo of it. I probably won't because it's really embarrassing. It's what, you know, like you have like WhatsApp. It's one of my group chats icon photos. Thanks for that, Eddie and Josh. But yeah, I love Dominic Cruz, and Dominic Cruz had a very, very interesting take on TJ Dillashaw's suspension. And okay, so before I even get to that, in fact, no, let me get on that now. So, looking from a more positive outlook, he said, look, the man's going to rest up. 2 years is nothing. 2 years is basically nothing. You know, you can be injured longer than 2 years. So 2 years isn't that long in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah. So then that's that. He could heal up for 2 years, raise his son, gain some skills, come back, and then kill the division, and then move up to 145 after, you know, he could work on gaining some mass, some muscle mass, because we know what happens to him when he goes to 125. So, do I think there's a possibility that TJ Dillashaw could come back better? Yeah, I think he will. And I think he's going to come back with a vengeance, you know. Do I think his legacy will be tainted for the rest of his life? Yes, I think it will be tainted. You know, when you just get caught cheating, it's sticky because we know how USADA works, and USADA's a bit crazy, but like when you do get caught like red-handed, it is difficult. It's super tough. I mean, for me personally, I think they should check the rest of TJ Dillashaw's samples, because if USADA is there, then why are we not going all the way? I mean, I used to be for USADA before they banned Lyoto Machida, before they did all this nonsense and just ban this guy and ban that guy and for coffee and give this man an exemption and move the whole event to California, all this nonsense, okay? Like, when USADA first came in, I was like, good, less drugs. Now, don't even care. I feel as if we are going to have USADA, then why draw the line? Why are you not testing for EPO being paid all this money? Why are you not testing all of TJ Dillashaw's samples? You know, it might not just be EPO. He might have been taking Andabro or D-ball or whatever ball. Like, I don't know much about steroids, as I'm sure you can tell. But the point is that if USADA are going to go through all this nonsense, then make it so that it's like it's cut and dry. You know, I don't want it so that he just tests for EPO or just for this. Like, I want everything to be tested. Or just get lost, USADA, and then we can have Johnny Hendricks back. We can have who else? We can have Henan Barrow back. We can have Vitor Belfort back. We can have all these competitors back. You know, everyone can just jump on steroids again, and the UFC can be, as Chum would say, the UFC can be great again, and we can watch all these crazy fights. But if you are going to test people, then test them all the way. So in terms of him getting caught cheating, I'm not really gonna kick a man when he's down. It was silly. I personally think most of these athletes are on steroids. I have a theory that, in fact, let me not even get into that, because that's, let me get into that. I think that a lot of athletes in baseball, NFL, rugby, tennis, athletics, cycling, swimming, I think all sports are dirty. And I don't think that sports are dirty because they're bad people, but I think that sports has become so lucrative. There's so much money in being at the top of your sport. You know, if we look at the top of each sport, okay, and we just think about the not even the greatest of all times, but like the person who's really, really killing the game right now, okay? We got Tiger Woods, who just won the Masters in golf. And before you say, oh no, you can't take steroids in golf, yes you can. You can take PEDs, which can help you to relax, like a beta blocker. You know, even in darts there's loads of money. You can, in tennis, you know, you can take a narcotic analgesic to help you throughout your tennis games. Like, look at Novak Djokovic balling out of his brain. Even in chess, Magnus Carlsen is making loads of money. Even in chess, you get tested in flipping chess. If you look at the top of every tree, the person who's at the top is making bank. Usain Bolt, bank. Jessica Ennis, bank. Novak Djokovic, bank. Lewis Hamilton, Cristiano Ronaldo, he got knocked out. Lionel Messi, like, look at any NFL player. Marshawn Lynch, all those guys, bank. Tom Brady, bank. LeBron James, bank. Dwight Howard, bank. I mean, Steph Curry, you get the point. No matter what sport you're in, there's serious money to be made, okay? I think that because there's so much money to be made, and you've got to compete, and the better you are as a competitor, the more money you make, the better you can perform, the more you can provide for your family. It makes sense to take performance enhancing drugs. And if I was an athlete, I could see why everyone would do it. I think that an athlete shouldn't be one thing is, he should be condemned because obviously he's cheating, but I think that it's important to try and empathize with an athlete when they do take performance enhancing drugs. Because if you could take an athlete, okay, I remember Dwayne Chambers said this when Dwayne Chambers was doing 100 meters. When it was running, he said, in order to compete, I had to take some PEDs. Now, if you can say to someone, hey, you can take PEDs, potentially not get caught, because, you know, masking agents improve as technology improves, not get caught, provide for your family better, win the race, you know, sort your kids' tuition out, sort the private schools, you can have the cars, you can have everything, I'd understand why they say yes. It's not my style because, you know, your health deteriorates and there's a lot of issues, and, you know, from taking steroids, there's all kinds of heart failure and there's all kind of issues that can happen. So it's just not me. But I understand why TJ Dillashaw did it. I understand why he thought, you know what, my cardio isn't where it is. I've cut an extra 10 pounds. I look like a crackhead, and I just need the cardio. If I'm going to put Henry Cejudo away, who also looked like a gladiator, must I add, upcoming to that fight, I'm going to need some extra kick. I'm going to need some extra cardio. I need some EPO to increase my blood cells, the production of my red blood cells, and increase my cardiovascular endurance. I understand why he did it, you know. I think he should be condemned because you can't go in there cheating. And as everyone says, you're not hitting a baseball. You're not throwing a ball. You're not kicking a ball. You're punching and kicking someone in the head. And on top of that, he has a particularly brutal style. I think he has one of the most exciting, brutal styles in the UFC. The way he KO'd Henan Barrow twice. The way he KO'd Cody Garbrandt twice. The way he beat Rafael Sanzal. The things he has done to people. He is just a monster and a half. And prior to this, even though I'm a humongous Dominic Cruz fan, I don't particularly like TJ Dillashaw. I had him as the greatest bantamweight of all time. And funny enough, I have John Jones as the greatest fighter of all time, irrespective of his drug issues. But the point is that TJ Dillashaw is someone who's just a great competitor, and I feel like maybe there is room for growth and improvement in his character, because you can't be a grown man like being so competitive that you feel that you need to run up the stairs faster than someone else, or you need to land a shot after the bell, which I've seen videos of him doing that, sparring someone in Japan. Like, I think there's just like, mate, just take a chill pill. You don't have to be that crazy of a geezer. Like, we get it. You like sports. We get it. You like to compete. But I feel like maybe this 2 years, just like Dominic Cruz, he'll feel like what it's like to be retired, work on his relationship with his wife, raise his son, which is the most important thing in his life ever, like apart from his marriage. So, I mean, there's a silver line to everything. I hope he just learns his lesson, and I hope less people try and use EPO. As long as it's banned, let's just keep it banned. But if it's not banned, everybody take EPO, because the fights will be crazy. But yeah, before I wrap this podcast up, there's actually UFC this weekend, and 15 people are going to be watching it, and that will probably not be including myself, because the card is rubbish. The card's rubbish, as Chipmunk would say. So yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, I don't even know any of these fighters. These are Russian, if it's Bruce Buffer, whoever's presenting this, good luck. These are some of the names: Kazim Murad and Tagulov, Mikhail Olekashijasic, Alexander Yakovlev, Shamil Abdurakimov. Man, these names are impossible. But the co-main and the main are cool. So we've got, for the co-main, we've got Islam Makhachev, who is a killer, and he's Khabib's teammate. And I mean, we look at his record. The guy's lost one fight to Adriano Martin. Before that, Kajon Johnson, Gleason Tebow, and Nick Lentz. This is on a tear. So even though I don't even know who's fighting, he's my pick. And then for the main card, we got Alex Roverim versus Alexei Oleinik. So Alex Roverim is my favorite heavyweight, and I just love how arrogant he is. It's so funny. I love how he's like, he's a statistic. I'm Alex Roverim, and I'm going to KO him. I just love his whole. I just love his style. So then before this fight, he fought Sergey Pavlovic, who I don't even know who that is. But I mean, vintage Overeem. For that, fought Curtis Blades. Before that, he got brutally killed by Francis Ngannou. I'm gonna put a photo. Where am I gonna put it? There or here? Like one of like that uppercut. Jeez, like when Francis was like, and then Overeem was in the shadow realm. Crazy KO. So before that, he got killed by Francis Ngannou. And then he fought Fabricio Verdun. Lost that fight, and then Mark Hunt. So Overeem still has stuff to offer, regardless of Francis Ngannou or Curtis Blades fight. The Curtis Blades fight. So Overeem's still there. Then we've got Alexei Oleinik. He's the guy who keeps landing all these Ezekiel chokes. I've tried it in open mat. Tried it in my BJJ sparring. Can't land it. The guy must have the squeeze of a gorilla. I mean, I don't know how on earth he's able to land this fight. How is he able to land the submission? Dude's a freak. This guy, he has 57 wins, 11 losses, and 1 no contest. The guy, or draw. The guy is a nutter. I mean, look at this experience. So with that being said, I have to pick Alistair Overeem to win, because firstly, I'm an Alistair Overeem fan. Secondly, Alistair Overeem has dope strike. Obviously has dope striking. I mean, he won the K1 Grand Prix. But his grappling solid as well. He won the European Open, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, I feel like Alistair Overeem, if he's about his wits and he's not, Father Time hasn't caught up with him, even though Linux has more mild and is older, I feel like he should have this. But I mean, Alistair Overeem is a great example of post-USADA, post-drugs transformation. Before USADA, that might have been the most dangerous man on the earth. That might have been the only man on planet Earth to beat John Jones. And now, he fights great, but he's just not the same guy. But yeah, USADA, go away. Anyway, so thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I enjoy it so much. Please subscribe, comment, link, share, whatever. I have 2 subscribers right now, so I'd appreciate if you if you could subscribe if you enjoyed the show. It's gonna be more to come. I'm a huge MMA fan. I will talk about more stuff than MMA. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the Champions League tonight, my fellow UK fans that are enjoying Real Madrid, Juventus being out, dear Ronaldo. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and I will see you guys probably after the fights. Bye.